Okay. I think it's about time. It is time to look at the Ed versus Juri matchup. So, I'm going to start out with a match. And I'm going to explain some of the things that I'm looking for. And then I'm going to take this into practice mode and go in a little bit more in-depth about stuff. Now the first thing, and it's gonna show up on the notepad I'm gonna have, is Ed's flicker normals. So the thing about these normals is, no, they're not completely disjointed, but it is not reasonable to hit the extended limb of something like his standing medium kick. So what we need to do as Juri players is find a normal that can reliably hit the body. We cannot hit the extended limb. Something like his standing heavy punch, you can actually hit the extended arm when he punches outward. You cannot really do that with the flicker normals. So your reliable option to do this, I have found, is sweep. I don't use standing heavy punch because the hurt box is a little bit too strict to hit it with that. It's definitely possible. Your spacing just has to be really on point. So we can see here, you know, people will tell you, oh, I can't whiff punch shit. If you're looking for these normals, you can reliably whiff punch this. This is all I'm doing when I'm, you know, looking at this round start. I'm trying to stay right outside of standing medium kick range, which is just about standing or his crouching heavy kick range. And I'm using this space to try and bait this normal out. So, comes out, able to get the sweep. And there's a few things you can do. I'm going to talk about some of your other options to attack from this knockdown, including a safe jab setup. I decided to go for a drive rush overhead, get the ODTP. All right, whatever. Same shit. I go back to trying to play around this normal. So, Ed players are going to be doing, generally speaking, one of two things. There's more than that. I guess I'll just mention them all, kind of. They'll be using their flicker normals. They'll be using flicker, the actual, like, special. And occasionally they'll just, like, zone with fireball or something. And, you know, of course, there's other stuff, like generic options, drive, rush, jump, whatever. But, you know, everyone can do that. We know how to deal with that. So, once you condition them to stop using flicker normals as often, or just flicker in general, that's when you can open yourself up to actually closing in or more confidently using things like forward heavy punch, standing heavy kick, things like that. So you can see here, I opt to go for the standing heavy kick, keeping it about max range, and then I'm just choosing to walk him down. Okay, so I drive rush in as well. That's another thing you can kind of more like reasonably think about doing once they're playing more passive. You know, if you whiff punish an Ed enough times, he's gonna be like, oh shit, I can't just do this for free. It's the same as like flicker. If you jump enough flickers, they're gonna be like, oh shit, I can't just flicker for free. You know, I'm getting jumped in on, I'm getting DI'd, whatever. So driver shin, I missed the anti-air, so I suck. But whatever, get a knockdown. Okay, so here I am doing a manually timed light to try and beat his DP. I've seen the DP once already. He did it first knockdown. So I'm attempting to use a light punch so that it will recover and beat either wake up DP or drive reversal. While still kind of enforcing some offense. Okay, let me talk about fireball against Ed in neutral. So there are very specific ranges where this becomes like an option that you even want to think about. And I think this around here is where I like to use it. And that's after you know, after a throw tech, after a back throw from you, after a, or not after, but like round start, it doesn't seem too bad of an option. The issue with Fireball and neutral is that he can forward heavy punch over it on reaction. So you do have to be wary of that being a possible thing that he can do. But once I've kind of like got this spacing, I see he can't like just do forward heavy punch because there is startup. He can get counter hit in the beginning of it, and then I decide to drive rush behind. I'm not expecting it to get anything. I saw it hit him, so I realized, okay, I can actually combo off of this with standing medium kick or forward medium punch, either of those. But I'm still on the lookout for things like jumps. So I get another knockdown. Now I decide to do an offensive delayed throw here. I want to talk about the issue with this against Ed. So Ed's DP, even though it is slower than most and can be beaten by safe chat setups and the likes of, stuff like that, it does actually beat offensive delayed throw. So I do think this is a weaker option. It's just something I just, chose to do here. But I think, generally speaking, this still beats backdash, so it's not completely useless. But yeah, just keep that in mind in case, you're deciding to use this against Ed. So we kind of get back to this neutral position where, I'm right outside of the range of his normals. I can still get hit by, something like medium flicker. Hold on, let me change this on. This shit's gonna loop over and over. Okay, there we go. So again, it's back to recognizing what has he been doing. Is he still using flicker like the special? Is he still using flicker normals? No. If not, then I will actually decide to use something like standing heavy kick in, drive rush, like raw drive rush, whatever. I just, pretty unfortunate timing. It was right when he did a flicker and I ended up getting counter hit, but it was kind of whatever. The worst that's going to happen there is I could get checked by a normal, but, had I done that any sooner at all, I would have counter hit him. So that's not something I would even attempt to be doing had he been using those things much more frequently. So I'm choosing my options based off kind of what I'm seeing him do in neutral. Now here I just kind of get a perfect pairs, whatever. Not like Ed specific stuff. Trying to think if there's anything else. Okay. So corner routing. All of these routings where you can get a safe jab set up are extremely strong versus Ed. So off of this specific route, you can frame kill with that, and you are plus 5, I believe. And you either get a safe jab or you get auto-timed meaty throw. So just by the nature of having a safe jab setup, the Ed player is going to be less inclined to do something like a wake up DP. So that is why these are really strong. So OD Fireball is much stronger in this matchup because it beats medium flicker just straight up, and it does like trade with OD flicker, and it can lose to light flicker, which sucks, and I'll show more on that when I go into practice mode. But OD Fireball is not a bad option after certain scenarios. All right, is round 1. That is most of what I wanted to showcase is what you're going to be looking for. Oh, this is another thing. Okay, I forgot about this. So empty jump outside of his DP range. Now I think empty jump is very strong versus Ed, or maybe not very strong, but it's strong versus him because his DP has very poor horizontal range. So you can make it with any DP, or I mean most DPs don't have this issue, but any like anti or normal like this, is also susceptible to being empty jumped on. So this is a good way to try and close the space while also potentially even baiting a DP. Now, I happen to get tagged by the fireball, but you know, any later than that, I would have been punching the fireball, but at the same time, I would also not be in the threat of like getting DP'd. Okay, and let me see what corner routings he does. Alright, don't mind me just eating shit in the corner. It'd be like that. Okay, so flicker during block strings. Now, this is something you definitely can react to in DI on reaction. They made flicker during block strings much weaker as well. Not necessarily in that type of block string when he's close, but he can't really effectively feint anymore by doing backwards kill rush, aside from like one situation. So I am going to talk about that in practice, in the practice mode a little bit more. Again, I'm using the OD fireball when I have this space to actually put it out like pretty confidently. I'm trying to maintain this corner. I probably shouldn't have dash, but I end up getting the crosscut anyways. And again, he is no longer using these flicker normals anymore. And it's because, you know, I was actually able to whip punish him once, and I'm continuing to play around that range, and he's not really sure how to control the space anymore. And when you can shut down things like the flicker special or flicker normals, you're going to find it much more manageable in trying to close the space. So, that's that game. Not gonna go over the other one. I did win the set, but let's go to practice now. I'm gonna pull up some of these other things I want to talk about. Okay. I just realized that I don't have... Okay, there we go. I do have something for this. So, these are some of the notes that I have on Ed. An easier way for me to do this. I guess I can just keep tabbing into it. That's fine. So I'm going to start this off with common Ed tactics and how to deal with them. So flicker and charge flicker in neutral, the special itself. So they made flicker, you know, this one is a little bit harder to like react to. You can kind of see it and like reliably punish counter, like get the DI. Of course, you can say, oh, you're in practice mode, you know when it's coming. I think this is something you can see and actually DI pretty reasonably. It's similar to, you know, something like a Rashid fireball. Like if you're looking for it, it isn't too difficult to actually deal with. So of course, trying to do that on top of trying to whip punish, you know, some of his normals is very difficult, but if you're looking for one or the other, it's actually like much easier. And especially medium flicker, you know, even from out here, oops, or for a little bit early, even from out here, just an instant one, like you can definitely see it and DI it. Now the issue with that is he can like backwards kill rush from all the way over there, but then you're, you know, you're one gaining space if you're actually like moving forward. Of course, if you DI, you're gonna eat shit. You're gonna get like whip punished. But if you're making it so that he isn't actually committing on these things, then you're gonna have an easier time again actually closing the space and then, you know, potentially getting in range for normals and things like that. What was the other thing I had? So DI on reaction, preemptive and reactionary jumps. So if you notice that an Ed is actually just like doing this all the time, you can jump as well, especially if they're charging them. You know, if you can see this, like, oops, not that one. That's not the one you want to jump on. If you notice they were actually charging it, like, you can jump. Of course, there's the risk of it being the anti-air version, but that is a possibility. Let me change this all good. I should have had a playlist for this, but whatever. It's fine. Okay. That is another thing you can try and enforce versus the flickers. And then the last thing that I have here is parry DROS. So, if the Ed is constantly, charging these or just throwing them out instantly, especially like the instant ones, because these are like, oh my god, I recorded early. These are a little bit easier to like try and time. Is like a few things can happen. And let me do the light actually. Oh my god. Okay. So you can perfect parry and then try and do like some type of normal. I'm not gonna get it now. Oh. How am I doing it late every time? Okay, that is what I was trying to do. But I think even something better than that is to perfect parry drive rush OS. So if you buffer a drive rush behind it, you can get a punish counter. And if you're outside of it, you can still potentially get a punish counter. So you can't tell which version he's doing. So if you're trying to perfect parry, like say medium timing, you're gonna perfect parry that, potentially get a punish if you drive rush OS behind it, and you're gonna be outside of range of the light and punish light version. Now, of course, if he's charging it, then you have a little bit of an issue. But again, just making it so that he has to actually think and cycle between the options is gonna make, you're gonna be correct sometimes, first of all, and it's not just gonna be your eating shit in neutral and like never getting in and never actually stopping any of the versions. Okay, so next thing is flicker normals. I kind of mentioned it already, but with punishing by attacking the body rather than the extended limbs is really important. So let me do this. So the thing about this normal is like you're not gonna like whip punish this shit like on reaction. Like you'd have to like counter poke, but like even your good counter pokes aren't really good at it, and you don't want to be throwing out like this and this really from over here. So it's very difficult to counter poke this normal specifically, and also this as well, which are kind of the difficult ones to deal with. So trying to actually whip punish this becomes the preferred option. Now, I mentioned it in the replay, but the thing about standing heavy punch is like you have to be right outside of it, and that's a little bit much. So like even here, this isn't gonna hit, but like sweep pretty reliably hits there, and you're able to get that punish counter and then get in from there. So I am going to show a frame kill setup real quick that I think is valuable to learn because it is a safe jab. So I have him set to instant wake up OD psycho uppercut is DP. And if you whiff punish this, I'm a little bit too far, and you dash forward, standing medium punch frame kill into a jab, then this will be a safe jab setup. And you're able to get a punish and like actually avoid getting DP'd. That goes for both of those normals. This one is a little bit easier to like with punish with like other stuff, but if you want to keep it simple, you can just use this sweep. What is next? Normals into flicker. So perfect parry OS into normals or drive rush, and DI on reaction. So one thing to note about this is that this is a true block string. Let me not record. This is a true block string. Heavy punch into light flicker. So you can recognize the flicker is coming, and then just DI like pretty confidently if you can react to it. This isn't a true block string. There is no way to make this a true block string unless you're in like burnout or some shit and he's doing like drive rush. And he can't make these a true block string either. So DI becomes very strong and you can very reliably do it. So like here, let me do this. I'll record a few options. I'll do this. There's one. There's two. Like I can see the DI, and there I was a little bit late, but it's not even that bad if like you're late because you know you're not. Wait, do I have the other one on? I do have the other one on. Why isn't it play? Like I'm just a little bit late on the DI, but what the fuck is happening? Did I record two where he? Wait, what was I gonna do? Oh, I was gonna do standing medium kick into nothing. That was the issue. Like what's happening? Oh shit. So you just want to try and not DI when he does that. Now I'm fucking it up, and it is a little bit weird off that one. But if you do, I mean, if they do medium flicker, then it's like much easier. This one. So that is a pretty reasonable way to deal with that, especially if they're charging. You don't want to let them get away with this shit. You know, once you are able to actually see it, then you should just go for it, and you can hold down back in DI. So like worst case scenario, it is a true block string, like here. And I think, yeah, so I have the 2 set, and here I'm just mashing. You don't want to mash it. You actually do want to try and like see it. But if they go for the other one, do I have the other one set on? No, I don't. That's the issue. Or let me do this. So one is the medium, and one is the true block string. The true block string, true block string, true block string. And then like if you do happen to see it and go for this, then you're able to actually get the punish on it. One thing that is a little bit important to take note of is if he does standing medium kick into, oops, not that, into backwards kill rush, then is that the right one? No, it's the other one. Then he is able to bait your DI. Now this is the only way that he can bait DI, because all the other options, even if it's like max range, he's not able to bait. So let me try and get like completely max range. Shit. But like even there, it's counter hitting him on the backwards kill rush. That was the nerf they gave him in the last patch a billion years ago. But this is a reliable way to deal with flicker during block strings. And also, OD flicker is not a true block string either. And this one is, you know, this one you can reliably see and actually punish. This is like way worse in block strings. Now, one thing you do have to be a tiny bit wary of is that he can cancel this into level 3. But it's actually very difficult. Like the window is very short. It's similar to that of like Fireball into Super with like the Shotos. So it's not something you have to be super afraid of, but just know that it is a possibility. Okay. So next section is your approach options in neutral. So empty jump outside of his DP range. That is one thing I mentioned. So just record that. If you're jumping, you know, right outside, you are going to make this whiff, and let me try and space it like just right. That was a little bit too far, and it is also a slower DP, so if they're not on point, you might just straight up like block instead. But here, okay, that one's still within range. Like you can make it whiff and then actually just like whiff punish it. What is next? Perfect parry, dry rush OS in neutral in areas in which you press flicker normals. Okay, so another thing about these flicker normals is they do have not a crazy amount of recovery, but if you are doing raw drive rush around here, you can try and tap parry and then go into drive rush. If you let me actually whiff something first. So you can try and like perfect parry, kind of how like people were doing like in the previous season. And if you're in range, you'll potentially perfect parry. And if you're outside of range, you can actually punish with, you know, even like a medium. So that is a decent way to get in as well. All right. I have after blocking close light flicker, OD fireball, and retaliation. So this is actually something that I saw from Nephew when I was watching his matches. And something I had written down. And the reason I like this option is because there's like very few things that he can do that will beat it. So he can do like something like this, like double light flicker, and why is he not doing it? So that you end up getting a trade, which is like very slightly in your favor, but probably not because you have to close the space again. But this beats like several other options. So he can't throw out like any of his normals after this, and he can't throw out medium flicker. So if he does medium flicker after this, what the fuck is happening? So it beats it like that, and you can actually even potentially, depending on how close you are, if you don't overhead, you know, you can still like combo off of that. So that is something that I saw a few high-level Juri players doing, and they did it all in this like very similar situation. So it's like when he was at, you know, some type of like minus frames, and this is still able to beat any of his normals. And if it trades, or not trades, but if it like ends up punishing a normal, or if it goes through medium flicker, then you're able to like actually convert off of it or just close the space. All right, what's next? Other random notes. Manually time or use safe jab setups to beat his slow reversal options on wake up. So the thing about Ed is he has very slow wake up options. So safe jumps or safe jabs become pretty strong. So let me go to his supers. And I think even his level 3. How fast is his level 3? I'm not remembering actually. Is this one still 10? It's still 10. Okay. So Juri has a few really nice, reliable safe jab setups. So medium Fuha, or just any of the Fuhas are one, because you get plus 37. Same with light DP as well, as long as it's grounded. And all you need to do to get the safe jab setup off of this, let me turn on his DP, is you do forward dash into drive rush instant jab. And the one you should be using is crouching light punch. You get a little bit more plus frames. It's easier to shimmy. So there, I'm able to get the jab. And if he blocks it, I am plus 4. So it's pretty nice. You can even more confidently go for like heavy, like back heavy kick, or delayed standing medium punch, and not get beat out by them mashing. Same with his level 1. This is actually on delay, so let me turn that off. So able to beat that option, and even the level 3. Oh shit. Did I mess it up? I think I messed up the timing. Am I tripping? Is this one too fast? Oh yeah, okay. The level 3 is too fast. But that is the only reliable reversal he can do. Including... Oh, it's not here. Drive reversal on recovery. And of course this shit loses because it's like way worse. So yeah, safe jab setups. That is your mid-screen options. Using any of those. Of course, this also applies in the corner. So if they are trying to wake up DP or whatever, then that is a pretty nice option. And you're also able to manually time it, like not very difficultly. Like I did a forward dash there, and that's not even like a frame kill, but you can kind of eyeball it and still get a light. And you want to be doing, you know, light punches because they have lowest recovery. As for corner routings and how to get safe jab setups, so there is a few that are pretty notable to look at. One is if you get a heavy DP and you're close to them. So this will be after like a forward medium punch. So let's say, you know, you do something like this. What you want to do is you frame kill with crouching medium punch. And if you do that, you're going to be... oh, you know what? I think I did the wrong option. Okay. You do standing medium punch. Standing medium punch is the one you do off of this one. And they will block that and you'll be +1. Or, you know, if they do wake up DP, then you're going to be able to block that. So the next one is off of standing medium punch, crouching medium punch, and a heavy DP. You get a little bit less frame advantage, and that's when you want to do... Wait, am I tripping? Hold on. 26. Okay, that's when you do this one. I think I was right, but I just fucked it up. All right, let me check this. Okay, I was right the first time. Crouching medium punch, if you do forward medium punch into heavy DP, or, you know, whatever, anything where you're like close and grounded, you get +28. You frame kill with this, and you're +5, and this becomes +1 and a safe jab. If you do this, then you want to frame kill with standing medium punch, and you'll get the +5 again. The other ones are much easier, and that is off of OD fireball into heavy DP. You forward dash, and if you get heavy fuha into heavy DP, you also forward dash, and that will be plus. So these become pretty strong options because you forward dash, you get this, and you'll be able to beat that, and you'll still be +1, which has some pretty strong options. You can do something like standing medium kick into light fuha. Here, let me show real quick why this is actually a strong option, not just say it is. Oops. Block reversal. Okay, there we go. So that trades, and you can kind of like go through the whole thing again and get those same amount of plus frames into that setup. Those are worth adding into your arsenal versus Ed. What else? Beware of using fireball and neutral outside of... I think... What the fuck was I trying to say here? I don't know. As he could forward heavy punch on reaction. Yeah, so the issue with fireball in neutral is that he can very reliably do this, but he does need a little bit of space, and he needs to be able to react in time, but he can punish you, so you have to be kind of wary of this. It's not like, you know, something you can do reliably like every time, but if they're looking for it, then, you know, this is really awkward to do like all at once. I can't do it fast enough on my hitbox. Just be wary of that when trying to use fireball in neutral, and that is why I recommend using it off of those scenarios that I talked about. So after a tech, after a back throw, I think it's good. And you know, when you have the space to use this without being punished for it by that normal. Next thing is 5MK DR. Oh, okay. This is so his standing medium kick into drive rush. This is a normal that cannot be made into a true block turn. So there I'm doing standing medium kick, drive rush into light punch, and if I don't fuck up the OS, then you can Every time punish this. I mean, you can do like super and still punish it, but this is not real. So if you have the resources, or say he's trying to do it at the corner, it becomes a very nice option to try and go for. That is fake. So, and you can add that onto a bunch of shit all at once. You can like perfect parry, drive rush OS, and if you get a normal parry and he drive rushes, you can do that. Like there's a lot of shit. And if he whips it, you can punish it still. So yeah. How long is this going on? Oh my god, this is 35 minutes. All right, I am gonna stop this here. Hopefully some of this shit was useful. I said I was gonna do this like a month ago, and I didn't do it, so now I'm doing it. And also I'm tired of seeing people complain in the matchup section. So yeah, here this is. Hope it helps.